Hello my friends, this is Joe's Gunpla Garage and welcome back to the channel. Today we have a new unboxing video from Bandai's latest high-grade kit. Today we're going to be taking a look at the high-grade GQuuuuuuX from Mobile Suit Gundam GQuuuuuuX. I'm going to try to keep this review as spoiler-free as possible, so we're primarily going to be unboxing this, taking a look at the runners in alphabetical order, and I'll give you my brief thoughts on what I think of the molding, the parts, and the gating on this. I'm also going to try to talk more about color accuracy in the unboxing portion of the video. That way there's a little bit more value behind these unboxing videos. But while we wait for this kit to come out in the United States, this is going to be a nice preview of what's in the box. So let's get right into it. This is our first runner. This is the A runner, and like most Gunpla model kits, this is molded in 4 different colors. So we have this orangish yellow up here, which looks really nice. We have this somewhat desaturated blue here in the center, some gray down here towards the bottom, and then some white up here, and the white does have a small tinge of blue, so we do have some really unique colors here, which really makes this design stand out color-wise, which is pretty nice because usually the tri-color Gundam tones are fairly standard from series to series. So it's nice to see a slight variation of that tri-tone colorway on this design. Taking a closer look here, we can see that the hands have a ton of detail here in the palms, and these closed fists also have a decent amount of detail. This lower waist section here does have some small panels to line, and here for the collar on the neck, we have a ton of small details there. This is the back side of the shield, and the front side of the shield. There's no external details on the front side, but there is quite a lot to panel line on the underneath of the shield. Here we have the main front collar piece that goes around the upper chest, and we see a lot of really nice chiseled details here on this part. We have the 2 side skirts here, so these little areas, these little thrusters should be gray, so that's something you're going to have to paint. We have 2 outward pieces of armor for either side of the calf, and there is a slight sticker that goes onto this and wraps around, so that may be a little difficult to put on for newer builders. We have this piece here, which might be for the beam rifle. We have the 2 beam sabers here, and all these small little rivets here, according to the manual, should be gray, so you're gonna have to get some gray paint for this kit if you want it to be fully anime accurate. All these rivets should be gray. Have some miscellaneous armor pieces here. And then here we have top of the thruster for the backpack, which according to the line art, these divots should be kind of panel lined in red and then filled in black in the center. Right up here, you'll get a sense of what I mean. And here we have the main connecting point for the core fighter / backpack booster. Here we have 2 upper thrusters for on top of the boosters of the backpack. And again, this section here in the center should be gray, so you're gonna need to paint that. Here we have 2 blue armor pieces for the side of the collar, right here, and these little divots should be sensors, so those should also be colored. Here we have more armor pieces, so this is for the collar as well, and then another miscellaneous armor piece, all with some very nice chiseled details on it, so this is going to be really easy to panel line. This is for the upper portion of the collar, right where the neck connects to the main body. And the rest of these yellow pieces, I believe, all go on the head because there are 2 heads with this one with a closed and open V-fin. And there's a lot of really minute details on those pieces. Some more rivets there, which should be gray, so you'll want to paint those. These 2 parts right here are for the back of the calf on either side, and those indentations should also be gray as well. But if you wanted to, you could probably just panel line them and have them look okay. We have a piece here for the beam rifle, and then some more miscellaneous yellow pieces, which this one's for the top of the cockpit, and this one's for the stock of the rifle, with 2 rivets on the side that you'll want to paint. Looking at the shield again, this dome piece and these circular vents on the back should also be in this same type of yellow color as up here, as should these indentations on either side. So already with runner A, we got some nice chiseled panel lines. We have some nice detail on all these parts. However, there is a lot of paint work to go onto this kit if you want it to look absolutely anime accurate, and you can use the manual to determine what needs to get painted. So let's move on to Runner B. So here we have Runner B, and it's all molded in this gray color. So this is going to be primarily inner framing / armor type of pieces here. Seeing as this is the first kit of this line, I can only speculate where these pieces are going to go because I'm not sure what the main construction of this kit is going to be like. These two smaller pieces here are outward thrusters that go onto the shoulder armor, and here are the opposite pieces that go on the inside of the shoulder armor. So a little piece of armor goes over this, and then this is the backside of this piece. We have this piece here which looks like it's for the inner frame of the main torso, and then here we have the lower abdomen piece, and then the upper chest piece. So this piece is going to kind of stack on top of this piece, if that makes sense. Here we have some miscellaneous joints, and here we have either side of the feet, the very goofy looking feet, which I know a lot of builders really despise. It is hollow on the bottom, so you may want to put some putty in there to fill that up because that looks a little strange. And it's also hollow on the inside, so a pretty ugly sculpt here for these feet. These four pieces here sandwich together and go on the interior of the shin area underneath the armor, so sort of a pseudo inner frame, if you will. And there is some yellow that needs to go on this indentation here throughout the part. There is a sticker for it. It's a yellow and a gray, so if you want to lose this indentation and these details, you can use the sticker or you can paint it. This kit is very paint heavy, so just keep that in mind as we continue to go through. Here we have the arms that go onto the backpack and the back thrusters. And once again, all these sections in the middle here, in between these rings, should be in a type of blue color. Pretty easy to spot there. So again, more paint that you're going to need. These pieces up here are the top of the hands, and this little V shape should all be blue, so that's all stuff you're going to have to paint. We have the beam rifle here, a pretty nice looking beam rifle, and it looks like it's mostly color accurate except for this indentation here on the top of the sensor that should be yellow. Up here we have the upper thigh armor. It goes over the blue, and that section there in the center should be yellow. I'm going to skip over these pieces here because they're all just miscellaneous joint pieces. So these pieces here go on top of this piece. So this is the top of the thruster, and these sit inside connected to the shin armor here. So this all kind of comes together. Here we have the middle section of the thruster. So we have all this detailing here for this section of the thruster. And then over here we have the bottom of the thruster, which goes into the leg, and that's why the foot is open. That way it can make room for this thruster to actually thrust and not get in the way of the foot. That's why the foot design is so bizarre. In terms of paint, this looks like it should be a darker set of gray, so probably this whole thruster should be a lighter set of gray. So that's stuff you're gonna have to paint. Have some armor pieces here. We have the rear backpack thrusters here. So you'll have to look at the line art and see what the color accuracy is for these. This right here is the front nose cone of the core fighter, if you will. So this section right there in the center should be blue for the cockpit. Right here we have some hoses that loop around on the thigh armor and are covered by this piece of armor. So this upper thigh armor is here to protect these hoses on the upper thigh. This section down here is all for the head. So this is like the main portion of the head. You can see the eyes there and the front sensor. Lower portion of the head here, and then side cheek vents. That little chevron in the center of those areas should all be yellow, so that's stuff you're gonna have to paint. And then the different sculpt for the enclosed V-fin head. Some random joints, a Xeon heat hawk, and then the front of the waist armor. All around, not a bad looking runner. This kit has a ton of really nice details baked into it, so there's a lot to panel line here. So panel lining this kit is definitely a must because it's going to take out all that nice detail that's on all of these parts, and it's all chiseled really well. So pour type panel liners and pens shouldn't have any problem filling in all these panel lines. I will say that this kit does need a ton of paint work to get as anime accuracy as possible. But out of the box, it looks like it's going to be a pretty fun build. So let's move on to the Sea Runner and see how that holds up. So here we have the Sea Runner, and it's in this whitish, bluish type of light gray type of color. It's a very, very nice color on this runner here. I do like this color quite a bit. Like I said in the intro, this is a nice departure from the typical Gundam tritone colorway that we're used to seeing. So I do like seeing this type of whitish blue here for the main armor pieces. Starting off, we have the outward shoulder armor thrusters. So all these little thrusters on the top there should be painted gray. The panel lines on this are very chiseled, so that's going to be easy to fill in if you just wanted to panel line it. We have the front of the foot here, so these little slots here aren't panel lines, but this is where the side thigh armor comes into place because it's on either side. Luckily, these thighs look decently color accurate. I don't think there's a knee joint. I think the joints on the GQuuuuuuX is very similar to how the AIM kits are, where it's a single point of articulation. I don't think it's a double jointed knee, but it still does a pretty decent job giving you articulation despite being on one point of articulation. And here we have the back of the legs, so the calf, and those look pretty good. We got all this kind of like weird truss framing here so we can see the thruster within it, because that thruster for the foot sits here, my finger is. So that looks pretty cool seeing that poke through. We have the top of the shield here, which is a pretty small shield. It's almost kind of uselessly small, so I'll be interested to see how that plays out in the show. Here we have two sandwich joints, so these come together and make the upper thigh. We got a lot of panels to line here, and that looks nice with the details, but this should also be gray, so that's a part you're going to have to paint if you wanted to paint this kit and make it accurate. Looks like this is where the hose comes into play and wraps around the thigh. We have parts here for the upper bicep, so it looks like there's going to be a type of ball joint here for the upper shoulder, and this is the upper shoulder armor. We got a piece here for the lower chest, and we can see that nice venting there. Some very minute details on this. It's a very impressively detailed kit, I will say that. Here we have the front nose cone of the core fighter with a ton of very minute details there. Panel lining that with a pen is going to be difficult, so I would recommend using some pore type panel liner on this piece, at least if you're comfortable with it and know how to use it, because filling this in with a pen you're going to lose a lot of details there because they're so small. And then here we have the back of the thruster for the backpack. So it looks like it's going to go on a swivel joint on that backpack, so we can get some decent articulation on the backpack there with those swivels. And then that big gray rear thruster pops right onto the back there. All around, a decently impressive runner with a lot of very nice and minute details here. So if you panel line with a pen, I think you are going to have some troubles here, but if you use a pore type panel liner, you should have no problem. A lot less paint to do on the parts on this runner, but you still do have a little bit with the thighs here and with the shoulder armor. So just keep that in mind if you're going for an anime accurate build. So here we have the D runner, and it's molded in that same type of whitish blue color that we looked at with runner C. So starting off with this piece, I believe this is for the back, so the backpack is going to plug onto this peg here. This manual is pretty bad with showing you rear facing details like that, so just keep that in mind. Here we have some small miscellaneous armor pieces, which I can't really see on the manual. And here we have the pieces for the two heads, so the two sandwich pieces that come together to make both heads. This one has a little bit more on it. We can see we got this tang here, and this one does not. So I believe this one is for the open V-fin, and this one here is for the closed V-fin. And again, we have some more rivets here that are going to need a little dab of gray paint. Again, some more minute armor pieces here, which are a little difficult to place when looking at the pictures on the manual. And here we have the primary face, so the chin is going to come through that little gap there. Here we have the sandwich joint for the arms, so these pieces come together in a sandwich, same with these ones, and then they plug into this bicep there. And I believe this is the rear for the bicep that's going to hold all of this in place. Here we have the outward colors for the shoulder armor, so that small thruster goes here, and then that white piece goes over that. And then we got the inverse of the thruster there, that goes on the back there, and that goes on the shoulder armor. And I believe this is what mounts this to the actual shoulder armor itself. This is a nice little runner. The details on all these pieces are very crisp, so it's easy to tell what needs panel lining or painting. And it's got a very decent amount of surface detailing throughout these pieces, despite being such a small runner with such small pieces. Here we have the E runner in this desaturated blue color, and this is primarily just accent pieces. Looks like a lot of accent colors just for parts and armor. We have these two pieces here. There's a couple panels to line on it, but this goes on either side of the chest. We have the bottom of the waist armor here, and I don't even have to look to verify that because we got this little action-based connector there. We've got this part here that goes on the top of the waist. These two looping parts that go around the lower thigh section for some of that color separation on the armor. And then here we have the front blue section for the armor piece on the front of the thigh, and more blue color separation pieces for the kneecap itself. So some gray pieces are going to slot in there to give you that color separation. We have all these little joint covers that go throughout the mobile suit. The interior ring of this should be yellow according to the manual, so there is a little bit of paint work to do there. We have the inner torso swivel, which looks all good in that blue color, and that's what it should be. Some more pistons here. I assume this goes on the back side of a joint, and then some joints here as well as here. So I assume these pieces go into these pieces to make the shoulder joint itself. We have the cuffs for the forearm there, which have these pieces go onto it, and that all in the center there should be gray, so that's all stuff you're going to have to mask and paint. And then here we have a wrist connector, if I had to guess. I'm not sure what this is, but to me it looks like a wrist connector. Again, some nice details here on Runner E. A lot of paint work to do here, especially with the yellow on these joint areas, and down here with the gray. Like all the other runners, this runner is consistent with some nice chiseled panel lines, so panel lining this kit shouldn't really be much of a problem. Here we have Runner F, and it's a very, very small runner, and this is the only runner with any form of red on it. So up here we have color separation for the upper bicep area, so the bicep is on a swivel to the shoulder joint, and this is that color separation there, which is nice because this could have very easily been a sticker, so it's nice that they did that. We have these inner canisters here, which go into the top of the thigh. What these do, I don't really know. I haven't seen the movie yet, so maybe there's some form of mechanical reason that these exist and why they're so exposed. But they kind of look like little fire extinguishers up there in the center of the upper thigh. It's definitely an interesting design, to say the least. Down here, these four pieces sandwich together to make the bottom color-separated portion of the front ankle armor. So we're going to have a seam line here in this section in the front, so you're going to want to close that up, and it does look like there's some nice snapping pegs to at least try and keep them together on either side. We have the lower torso section here, and then the upper chest torso section there. All this right here is for the abdomen, and the kit does have a nice abdomen crunch, so I assume that's why these are all separated. That way you can get a better ab crunch out of all these parts. We have the front armor color separated piece for the waist. Here we have the closed V-fin. So this is going to cover and go on either side of that closed head. And again, pretty consistently, all these little rivets should be gray. We also have a chin piece here for the closed V-fin head and an open chin piece here for the open V-fin head. And again, we have the open V-fin, and just like the closed one, all these little rivets should be colored gray. This is a decent little runner with consistent details similar to all the other runners, and this is probably the runner with the least amount of paint work that you have to do, simply relegating it to these like little rivets up here on the V-fin itself. Here we have the G runner, which is just two beam effect parts for the beam saber, and it's probably one of the more unique beam sabers we've seen in Gundam because we have this big open gap here in the actual beam itself. So I'm curious to see if there's any way how they explain why this big open gap is here. It does look really cool if it does make, not a whole ton of sense. It's in this type of holographic type of look, so that's kind of nice. It's got that polarization in the actual effect itself. I noticed Bandai's been doing that a lot with their effect pieces, like on the shield pieces we've seen with some of the seed kits, so that's very nice to see continued into this GQuuuuuuX line. Lastly, we have two sheets of stickers. This is the color correction sheet here, and we can see all these little yellow pieces that need to go throughout the body. We have a Pomeranian here, which is Machu's kind of mascot, if you will, and a Zeon insignia here because I believe this kit is stolen from Zeon. These purple pieces here are for either side of the sensors on the upper chest. This little sticker here is for the bottom of the torso area. These yellow pieces here are to fill in some of the gaps on the armor, and this piece here is for that interior thruster that goes into like the shin area of the leg. Probably the same with these pieces up here. Sticker number 5 is like the main sensor sticker, so I would rather just fill that in with panel liner. These little yellow chevrons here go to the side cheek vents that go on the head. This goes on the front torso piece, and then we have 2 sensors for the 2 heads and 2 eyes for the 2 heads. And this sticker here is for the beam rifle sensor. So a kind of sticker heavy build here, especially because it's supposed to cover so much real estate of the build itself with some of these interior details. What I don't like about these stickers is if you look at them, you can see those like little ink dots printing these stickers out. So it looks really cheap. Like if you look at a comic that's colored and you see those little dots from adding the coloring, that's kind of all here. So it doesn't look very good. It's not a very good quality sticker here. I don't like it. I'm probably going to have to paint mine, but use this if you want to. Just know that if you look real closely, you can see all those little ink dots on the sticker itself. The second sticker sheet is similar to Origin or real grade type of stickers, where it's all these embellished marking stickers. So these big triangles here go on the backpack thruster, and then all these little chevrons go throughout the whole kit. So these stickers here go on the lower outward thigh armor. We can see that right here, where it kind of wraps around and it's gonna come down this way. But I almost feel like this should be in 3 different parts, which they kind of did with this shoulder armor here. So this sticker here is right there and it's separated. And then we have the chevron pieces, which are separated on either side. So it almost makes sense to have this one split and this one split as well, but they didn't split this one for whatever reason. I don't know why they did that. These little pieces, the number 3 and the number 6 here, these almost aren't even worth using because they're so small, there's not that much adhesive on it. These are probably just gonna flake off. So if you do use these, add just a smidge of glue to it. That way it stays there longer. I usually just use a tiny, tiny dab of Elmer's glue, and it does go a long way for these very small stickers. So here we have the spread of runners for the high-grade GQuuuuuuX. 7 runners total, 6 to make up the main body, and 1 effect runner here for the beam saber part. 5 colors total. We got gray, we got this desaturated blue, we got this bluish white armor color, this yellow accent, and then this red accent. And the color presentation here on the kit is pretty nice. Now this kit does need a lot of paint correction. There's a lot of little details here that do need to be filled in, so look at the line art if you're going for anime accuracy on this build. The manual does do a good job, but only from the front. There's a lot of details missing on the back that we don't see because the manual really doesn't show us the back of the kit at all. This is what you have to go off of for reference images. There's nothing in this manual here that shows the back of the kit in color, so I kind of wish Bandai did a little more here to show off how the kit looks fully anime accurate. I do wish Bandai added those details for the back here so then I could just build this kit without having to go onto the wiki and look at more source material. It'd be nice if all I really needed was the manual here. That's something that I could see them do a sort of improvement on. All around, it's a pretty impressive kit despite its wonky design. I know a lot of people really don't like the GQuuuuuuX design. I like the GQuuuuuuX design quite a bit. I like it quite a bit more over everything else that we've seen, including the leaks. This looks to be the best designed mobile suit from this new series. So if you're a stickler for anime accuracy, you're going to be here a while. If you're just a straight out-of-the-box snap builder, this is probably going to be a pretty decent and well-detailed and articulated kit. But we will find out about that in the review of the high-grade GQuuuuuuX coming soon. The last thing to really touch on here is the presentation of the box itself. Now the GQuuuuuuX here does look pretty good. We can see all these extra details that we need to fill in very big format. So we can see all those rivets there on the V-fin and the thruster here, as well as the thruster there. And you can kind of see that red outline there. That would be a little difficult to pull off. We have some nice presentation here of the articulation and the abilities that the GQuuuuuuX has. They're really selling us on this fetal position. I don't really know why. I don't think that's really all that impressive. Here on the side of the box, we have the hobby QR code if we wanted to go to the Bandai hobby site, and we can see it's listed as GQuuuuuuX #1, so this is going to be a full subline for the series. Here is the only reference material, this minute little picture here of the GQuuuuuuX, and then just the rest of your information. The other side of the box is vertical, which is weird. Bandai really hasn't done that before, so this is a little off-putting to me. I kind of wish it was just uniform like the other side, but it carries all the same information. So high-grade GQuuuuuuX, the GQuuuuuuX, GQuuuuuuX, GQuuuuuuX. You think they've said GQuuuuuuuX enough here on this side of the box. And then down here we have the numbers. So pretty nice box. We got this big O'Neill cylinder in the back showing that we're still in Universal Century. And then we got the series logo here. And that about does it for the unboxing of the high-grade GQuuuuuuX. Thank you all so much for watching this unboxing video on the high-grade Gundam GQuuuuuuX. No matter how you feel about the design, I still hope that you found this an enjoyable video to watch. Let me know in the comments below if you like this little additional information in these unboxing videos where I kind of tell you where the color accuracy needs to be. I think that's going to be helpful and beneficial if you're looking to buy a kit and you want to know, hey, do I need paint colors with this too? So that's kind of my reasoning behind adding that little tidbit of information into these videos now. So rather than just me rambling about panel lines and surface detail, we can also talk about color accuracy before we even embark on the build, which is always good information to have before a build. Typically, that's what I do before every build. I hop on the wiki, I look at the line art, and I see what I'm going to have to do to make it as anime accurate as possible. I appreciate all the love and growth that this channel has had lately. We've already gotten over 5K subscribers, and I just want to keep that momentum up and keep going. I wouldn't be doing this without my amazing subscribers who have been here this whole time. I appreciate you guys so much, and we're just going to keep going up and up from here on out. Until the next video, my friends, stay safe, have fun, and happy building.